All right, so check this out. Last night on his show, following the cancellation of The Late Show, Stephen Colbert absolutely torched Donald Trump for a variety of things, but especially his connections to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, last night's show was just so fantastic. I want to give you the highlights in this video. But before we dive into this article and what Stephen Colbert said to Donald Trump, you're getting a little bit of a sneak peek on your screen right now. I do want to provide you an update for what's going on in Congress for the possible release of the Epstein files. There are 2 votes scheduled, and all of this is really bad news. So just take a look at this update we have here.
There are new signs for the president that the backlash over the Jeffrey Epstein saga is very real and not going away. Right now, there are 2 major developments on Capitol Hill. A vote on a measure to force the White House to release all federal records related to Epstein now has enough Republican support in the House. At least 10 GOP lawmakers have now signed on, meaning that leadership has to hold a vote. And just as that news was breaking, the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, is telling CNN that he's not going to hold any vote on anything related to Epstein this week. Why does that matter? Well, this week is the last week that Congress is scheduled to be working until September.
We need the administration to have the space to do what it is doing.
So no vote on this resolution before August
No.
5th.
Yeah, wow. So Congress, actually Republican members of Congress, probably those who feel that this might impact their 2026 election, but Republican members of Congress are actually pushing for the release of the Epstein files. And as Casey Hunt, the CNN host, said, this is not going away for Donald Trump no matter how much he tries. And that brings us to the beef that he has with Stephen Colbert, and of course his response last night in his fantastic show. On Friday last week, July 18th, Donald Trump bragged about essentially getting Stephen Colbert fired, basically bribing Paramount to do this, saying, "I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings. I hear Jimmy Kimmel is next, has even less talent than Colbert. Greg Gutfeld is better than all of them combined," which is a crazy statement, including the moron in NBC who ruined the once great Tonight Show. So Donald Trump was boasting publicly about his bribe, getting Paramount to cancel Stephen Colbert. And that, of course, happened just 3 days after Colbert criticized Paramount for the huge merger deal. And as I mentioned, Colbert responded last night to Donald Trump on his show. You can see the headline here. He made it very short and sweet, saying, "Go F yourself," in a response to Donald Trump's post. So according to Axios, the Late Show host, Stephen Colbert, responded to Trump's post that celebrated the cancellation of the program in his opening monologue on Monday. He also went at Donald Trump for Jeffrey Epstein, his connections to Jeffrey Epstein. We'll talk about that in just a second. Why it matters. Colbert wasn't just a vocal critic of Trump, he also criticized CBS's Paramount, that's a tongue twister, decision to settle with him. Of course, that is around their lawsuit and everything going on with 60 Minutes. That happened just around a month ago or very recently. In his first show since CBS announced it would end the program next year, Colbert addressed Trump's Friday post that stated, "I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less," as we just read. Colbert responded that he was the martyr and that the Jimmy Kimmel host was not next. "How dare you, sir? Would an untalented man be able to compose the following satirical witticism? Go F yourself." And I can't show you the clip, unfortunately, because Paramount and CBS would strike it down on YouTube. But Colbert looked directly into the camera and said, "Go F yourself" to Donald Trump. Colbert might be being taken off the air. The show might be ending, but he's certainly going to go out with a bang over these next 10 months. And of course, earlier this month, Paramount agreed to pay $16 million to settle a voter interference lawsuit filed by Donald Trump last year. They're just essentially handing him $16 million. The settlement was rightly criticized by press freedom advocates who believe Paramount could have won what they viewed as a frivolous lawsuit. Of course, it was a frivolous lawsuit. It was totally baseless. Quote, "I believe this kind of complicated financial settlement with a sitting government official has a technical name in legal circles. It's a big, fat bribe," Colbert said on his show days before CBS announced its cancellation. Interesting timing. And CBS said that they're pulling the show for strictly financial reasons, which just seems a little off to anybody that has logic and reason going on in their brain. So I love this response from Colbert. And as I mentioned, he also made sure to take some shots at Donald Trump for his connections to Epstein. And once again, the same thing applies here. I wish I could show you this segment that Colbert ran on his show last night. You can probably watch it on YouTube somewhere, but he ran this segment where he was essentially talking about Donald Trump's desire for the Washington Commanders to go back to their name that they had originally. And Colbert proposed a new name for Donald Trump, the Washington Epsteins. It's a great segment, and you can see that Trump, they use this photo in the show last night of Trump holding up a jersey with Epstein's written across it. I'm sorry I'm laughing so much. It's just so good. With Epstein's written across it. And then they were even so nice as to give Donald Trump a logo recommendation. I'm sorry, which is, of course, Jeffrey Epstein, the Washington Epsteins. And they also made sure to give Donald Trump some visuals on what this might look like in the end zone. Washington Epsteins as a new name for the team. Donald Trump is threatening to halt their new stadium construction in Washington, D.C. if they don't change their name back. So perhaps Donald Trump wants to pay homage to his former best friend and rename the Washington Commanders to the Washington Epsteins. I'm sorry, this photo just killed me. When I saw it the first time, I laughed for a good 5 minutes, I think, throughout this entire segment. It is worth a watch. And I just thought it was fantastic. And the overall point here is that, you know, Donald Trump can brag about the cancellation of Colbert. He and his MAGA buddies can get around saying they have no talent, but people are pissed off. Average everyday Americans, fellow late night hosts, people are furious. This was a protest that actually took place outside of the Late Show with Stephen Colbert in New York City last night before Stephen's show, and you can just take a look at it here. It's pretty impressive. Have a look. Man, I love it. You know, the great folks of New York City getting out there, making their voices heard. And they're talking about how Trump essentially got Colbert fired. And these are, you know, again, average everyday Americans, hardworking folks who are appalled by Donald Trump's attack on the First Amendment. As I mentioned, not just these folks who are already fantastic enough, it's other late night hosts. Jon Stewart, of course, had his show last night as well, and he ripped apart Paramount and CBS in a profanity-laden diatribe after the cancellation of the Colbert Late Show. Jon Stewart lambasted CBS's decision to cancel the Late Show on Monday's episode of The Daily Show, ripping their shared parent company, so actually Paramount Global controls Jon Stewart's show as well, for what he called a capitulation to Donald Trump. Stewart referred to Paramount's intended merger with Skydance in an $8 billion deal, which is pending government approval, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, bribe, bribe, and said shows like The Late Show made CBS that money. Shows that say something, shows that take a stand, shows that are unafraid. This is not a we speak truth to power. We don't. We speak opinions to television cameras, but we try. We effing try every night. And if you believe, as corporations or as networks, you can make yourself so innocuous that you can serve a gruel so flavorless that you will never again be on the Boy King's radar. A, why will anyone watch you? And you are effing wrong. There's more to that segment as well. I'd recommend you watch Jon Stewart's show and how he went off on Paramount last night as well. But people are furious about this all. And I just loved Colbert's response saying, go F yourself, telling Donald Trump like it is, saying it directly into the camera. And of course, this segment, I mean, I can't talk about it again. It's going to make me laugh again. But anyway, I digress. I'll leave the video there. Just had to show you Colbert going in on Donald Trump. Thank you so much for watching. It really means the world. Make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. Goes an incredibly long way. Drop a like on the video, comment, let me know what you think about Colbert, the story, and what you think about the video. And as I always say, I greatly appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.